Hi, I'm Kristin Dixon, Director of the Business Development Center at American WeatherStar. We operate our lead generation program for our Platinum and Platinum Elite Contractors. In this video, I sat down with Chris Bohn of True Colors Industrial from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Chris is one of our most dedicated Platinum Elite Contractors who utilizes our lead generation program. In this video, he discusses some of his best strategies for making the most out of his leads.
When we receive a lead from an AWS account executive, we try to respond back to that prospect as soon as possible. If we can get back to the prospect the same day, that's great. If not, as soon as possible. That prospect, the conversation that they had with the account executive, it's fresh in his mind. And as soon as he hangs up that phone, the prospect's mind goes back to making widgets, selling widgets, whatever that company does. So he's no longer thinking about the roof. So it's important that we get back as soon as possible. If you wait a week or so, for whatever reason, and try to get back to that prospect, there's a good chance he's not going to remember who you are. Maybe he has 2 or 3 other roof quotes by the time you get back to him. Having that opportunity, having that lead is an opportunity. We want to act on it as soon as possible, put our best foot forward. You know, there's nothing more frustrating than getting this hot lead, 100,000 square feet. Customer says on the AWS lead report that they need a roof that year, and you call the prospect and he doesn't call you back. You can't get a hold of him. And it happens frequently. Because once again, that prospect is running his business. The roof is something he has to deal with, but first and foremost is making sure that the company stays afloat and operating the business continues. So you don't get a hold of the customer, leave a message on the phone. Call and leave another message. If you've left a couple of messages, maybe not continue leaving messages, but can keep on calling. Send an email. Another point of contact. Another thing that we have done, if we can't get a hold of our contact, our prospect, we'll call the receptionist and we'll ask to have that prospect paged. He wants to see us. He's talked to an account executive. He wants to get an evaluation on his roof. It's just sometimes he's busy doing his thing. Don't get discouraged. Keep on trying to get a hold of him. Usually a couple of weeks. We don't put an exact number on it, it depends. Another thing that we'll do if it's somebody that we've tried to contact and we haven't had success, if the salesman is in that area, stop by and see him. We don't generally like to do that without an appointment, but stop by and see him. Try. But after a couple of weeks, if we're not able to reach him, we reach back out to our AWS account executive and say, hey, we're having some trouble reaching this person. We want to let you know where we are, and so that we can communicate, and then you know that we're having a hard time contacting them. We organize our leads in chronological order. We also organize them in type of roof and type of system that we're going to be installing on the roof, or that we're presenting. But then every single lead we also keep notes on, because everyone is unique. We find out through qualifying, with talking with the customer, what is their time frame. Sometimes maybe a prospect might want a roof done that season, but they don't have the funds. It has to go through budgeting, and it might not be till the following year. So we organize them that way, and then we also make notes and organize each one individually as well. We have prospects occasionally that they don't have any issues with the roof, but they know that perhaps the warranty is up. It's an older roof, and they want to get an idea of what it's going to take to resurface that roof. And we will actually propose systems, recoating systems on roofs that don't have any existing problems, but the economy's good now. And there are customers out there that want to prevent problems, and they're willing to be proactive and install a system before the roof is falling in. We want to deal with people that are having issues so that we can solve them. But more and more in this business, it's about developing relationships and getting on the radar with a company, because someday everybody's going to need roof work. And so we along with the American WeatherStar's marketing program, we also make cold calls. And you have no idea when making cold calls, when you're walking in a door, what kind of shape the roof is in, how long it's been since it's been done. But you're getting your foot in the door, you're leaving some information, and hopefully someday, if you continue that, when that prospect needs a roof, you'll hear from them because you've been there. It depends on how receptive the customer is. Here again, we're a roofing contractor, and we're trying to sell and give supply needs to another company. If somebody at a company is willing to give some of his time up to have us evaluate his roof, then it means enough to him. And if he's willing to do that, we're willing to invest the time into going out and evaluating a roof that perhaps doesn't have any needs at the moment. You know, our initial contact with the prospect is on the phone. We're trying to call to set up an evaluation. And the best way to communicate with the customer is face-to-face, always. It's not always possible, but during our evaluation, during our presentation, we're talking to the customer. And oftentimes on follow-up, and when we think we're getting close to that closing time, we're in and we want to be face-to-face with the customer. And we don't close too many jobs without being face-to-face with the customer. Phone call is, I would say, second best in communicating. Email, I'd say, is the least, because it's not a personable way of communicating with somebody. And so we generally leave emails for exchange of information, but when it comes to follow-up, we're trying to call, we're trying to see somebody face-to-face. When we evaluate every roof, we go up on the roof and we take pictures of the roof. We take pictures of the problems of the roof. If there are split seams, fasteners popping, we take pictures so that we can compile those and put them into our proposal. Every roof that we do, big or small, there's pictures of the problems on the top of the roof. Most owners in our market don't go up on the roof. They don't know what's on the roof. They may have an EPDM roof, but they look up and they see a metal deck and they've got a metal roof. They have no clue. You have to, when you present the proposal, be able to show what's wrong with the roof. I think you should. And so that you can present those pictures, and that's the first thing that's in our proposal as we open it, are our picture pages. There may be 4 pictures, there may be 20, depending on the scope of the project. But we want to show the owner what we're looking at and how we're going to solve the problems on his roof. Then we go into our scope of work, which details the work that we're going to do, which includes a signature page. And we also include in our proposals some information on the product, proof of insurance, which very rarely do we have to be asked for insurance because we include a proof of insurance in our proposal packet. And these are all things to build confidence in our company. It all boils down to faith. There are a lot of good roofing systems out there, and you have to convince your prospect that he can trust you and you're going to do a good job. And of course, references go a long ways. It never hurts to give references out, and in some cases that prospect may know one of the references that you have. And those are invaluable. We try to, from the time of evaluation, we want to schedule a presentation hopefully within a week from the time of the evaluation. And during our evaluation and our our qualifying of the prospect, asking them questions about how old his roof is, when is he going to do his roof, do they have the financing for the roof, who makes the decision for the roof purchase. We're also scheduling the presentation at the same time. So we're evaluating the roof, meeting with the prospect, and scheduling when can we come back to present our findings with you, the proposal for your roof. Every proposal that we present, we ask at that time, where are we at? Where are we at with our purchasing? It's rare that we're actually closing on initial presentation, but it does happen on smaller projects. But we're trying to get feedback so that we can follow up. And it varies. One prospect may say, well, I have to bring this to the board. And we would ask, when is that board meeting? Next Tuesday. Can I come and see you next Wednesday? Or better yet, can I come next Tuesday during the board meeting and present this here so that your board members can see it? But it's all about communication. It's keeping ourselves up in front of that prospect the best that we can, and to keep the ball rolling. Occasionally we'll close a job when we present it, and my salesman has a technique which it actually does work sometimes. We present our proposal, we have a signature page on the last page, he signs it, turns the proposal around and sets the pen down. On occasion that does work. But closing projects, these are large projects. Most of the projects that we do are fairly large. And even though they might not seem like a large project to you, it depends on the size of the company. Even a small company, a roof project is big to them. So it takes time to close it. And it's interesting that I say in our company that my salesman will sell a job several times. And because we generally along the way will get verbal cues, verbal approvals on the project. It's not signed yet, but we know that's a good one and it's on the way. And maybe we hear, we're going to go with your roof as soon as we get financing, or we're going to go with your roof next year. And so we'll call that a verbal close, and we'll hang on to that closely and of course continue to communicate with that customer so when the time comes we can get a signed contract. And it's not uncommon for my salesman to finally come in and say, I've got this signed contract, and I'll say, yeah, you've sold it 4 times. We've had all these little verbal cues along the way it's going to sell. And that's kind of how it goes, and it's incremental. You work on that, stay in front of the prospect, and eventually hopefully you're the one that gets the project. I talk about follow-up. Follow-up is key. Things can change in the process. If you've been working along with a prospect for months on a project, and all of a sudden another contractor's come in, and so now you have to resell yourself against another contractor, another system. It's not uncommon for managers to change. And so really just communication, follow up, making sure that you're there to answer any questions that might come up. We've had customers that we've bid a price on an entire roof, and when it finally boils down to it, they can't afford to do the whole roof. And we'll make a suggestion, how about half the roof this year, half the roof next year, whatever we can do to help them out. But it really goes down to communication, follow up, and you have to continue to follow up, communicate with your customer and your prospect. We try to stay on the same page with American WeatherStar, and communication is always good for us. We're getting cues from our account executives on where a certain particular lead is, and it's also important that we give information to the account executives, and we're usually emailing these back and forth. If there's an important change that an account executive hears there's a change, they'll often call us if it's something that we think we need to act on quickly. But really it's just keeping that communication, emails and phone calls. You know, it's making sure that you take leads very seriously. We get a finite number of leads in this program. It doesn't take a whole lot to extrapolate out how much it costs per lead, this marketing program. Leads aren't cheap. It's a golden opportunity to go and look and hopefully close a project with a customer that has a need. So it's just really important to take every lead seriously. Don't judge a lead. Oftentimes we'll look and say, oh, this one looks good, and sometimes it's the one you least expect that will come through. So treat every lead the same, work every lead, and we really never call a lead dead. Our leads go back 15 years right now, and we continue to follow those leads, and every year we'll get calls from people we presented proposals to 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they still haven't done anything. So you don't want to quit any leads, you don't want to call them dead. Managers often change position. Owners, buildings sell, companies sell. When we follow these leads over the course of time, it's not uncommon you had your original contact with that prospect, and after a year you might be on your third contact. So you got to continue following up. You might have to continue presenting that proposal to the next manager. But the key here is just to follow up. Don't quit, and just keep on following up on those leads. We've been in the AWS marketing program since 2012. And here, there are some years where we advertise in a territory and we might not get a sale that year in that territory, but we're always getting leads, and those leads are going into our database and they're being worked, and we know that some of those will close eventually, but it takes time. You can't quit. We're not selling cars, we're selling roof systems, and they're not cheap. With these roof projects, some sell fairly quick. People contact you and they're ready to do that roof this year, but most of them do not. And so you have to, it's a continual effort. You work these leads when they come in, but if they haven't sold, you continue to contact them, whether it's every 2 months, 6 months, annually, but you continue to contact them, continue to keep your name in front of the customer. Eventually, that roof that you looked at that needed to get done is going to really have to get done, and hopefully if you've been there and you've been in contact with him, he's going to be more inclined to work with you because you've been there from the beginning and you showed him a good system. And we see that every single year, and we have people tell us, we're going to do it this year, for 3 years in a row. But we don't stop working with them, because when they eventually do it, we want to make sure that we're there. In Michigan, it's seasonal work for us, so most of our leads come in early in the year. And so my salesman is super busy following those leads that are just coming in and contacting leads that aren't that old. But he's super busy this time of year, and of course our service department is too. In the winter we have a little bit more time, and that's our time, even though we're still working on leads, that's our time to do follow-up and do long ago archival follow-up on leads that go way back. And we'll continue to call and contact leads that can be several years old to see where they're at in the process. And it's amazing sometimes you look at a roof and you think, well, this roof has needs now, but it might not get that priority from the business owner. But eventually it will. And so we just got to keep on following up, and hopefully that time will come.
If you're interested in becoming an American WeatherStar approved contractor or our lead generation marketing program, visit our website at www.americanweatherstar.com for more information.